matter again. And as you can see from my eyes, I'm at my parents' house, so they have Pluto in my sixth house, and I'm vlogging. So, this episode is actually not a prediction. It's just an update on things that happened. Okay, so Pluto is in Aquarius, as we all know. Saturn, the is in Pisces, so water issues. And Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, but is also traditionally ruled by Neptune. And Pisces itself, the archetype is lack of boundaries and leaking things. So this week, in our country in the north, some people hacked into the watering system. Okay, for agriculture, Saturn also rules agriculture. So they hacked into the watering system and created interference, okay, thereby creating damages in watering the crops. So it's like agricultural terror, but is more technological. Okay, there are many ways you can view this. So this happened in Israel, and Israel. This is important because Israel's sun is in Taurus, and so Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, and Uranus rules technology. Uranus in Taurus, technology to do with crops, with food, with agriculture. We've been getting both the attempts to do processed meat that is lab generated. Unfortunately, I still did not see people do it without cruelty to animals. Um, which would be very exciting if we managed to, but it didn't happen. Now it's actually less cruel to eat ethically raised meat than to consume like those lab products, unfortunately, at this point. So, um, what we have here is hacking is both um, a Neptune related and a Pisces archetype related activity into a structure. So hacking into a structure that has to do with water, Pisces. Okay. We also have Mars in Cancer, and Mars is penetrating something, and Cancer is water. Yeah. So, but in this case, it was you could say a terrorist attack, or it was a war, a guerrilla attack. Okay, politically neutral term to say it. So Pluto is about the hidden things, and Pluto in the air sign is about transparency. Oh, and another thing we had, which I should have titled this video because it's way more visible to others, is the leaking of information from the Pentagon of highly, for me, I'm sorry, I have Aquarius in the 12th house with Uranus in the 10th and Saturn in the ninth. So whenever that something gets leaked, information gets leaked, something becomes transparent, I'm shining. Okay. It's not that I underestimate the risk in that. It's just that I'm just pro transparency, right? My inner hidden alter ego is pro transparency and radical acceptance. So these two things happened this week. Okay, Saturn in Pisces, Pluto in Aquarius, and then we had the moon in the water sign, had the moon in Scorpio, going from Libra to Scorpio through the Via Combusta. We had a full moon. So full moon is disclosing things. Um, and then around that, we had the diminishing of boundaries between information, as well as already predictions of Saturn in Pisces being born out, manifesting as hacking into water systems. Okay, so and this is in the context of probably war, but it can also be war, not like a political conflict so much so, although Pluto rules politics, but so much so as also organized crime, which is political. But there are various interests, also state interest. Pluto is now in Aquarius, but it is moving, okay? It's in Aquarius, it's going to move to Capricorn and then back to Aquarius in 2024. So we have, and I thank S.J. Anderson for stating that we have 18 months of Pluto going back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius, and this is exceptionally long time for an ingress, because heck, we are having an exceptionally deep, structural, foundational understanding of things that is multi-layered. So these are two things. Okay, so leaking of information from the Pentagon, which is a security center of something, and just hacking. If we had in Pluto Capricorn, we had hacking to the Pentagon, and then we had a person like, I don't remember if they were sitting in jail or not sitting in jail for hacking into the Pentagon, um, but that was considered even ethical hacking. Okay, so hacking that you do to expose the vulnerability or exploit vulnerabilities in order to do something good for humanity. And here we have the actual, it's not just breaking to see the exploits and exploit but not leak information, but genuinely to leak information from the Pentagon around security issues, also involving Israel. Okay, so there's a possibility that Israel will contribute money or weapon to Ukraine. Policies regarding China and Iran and more things that were there. So we are having already things happening, uh, big attention on leaking things, and because Saturn, the traditional ruler of Aquarius, is in Pisces, so water resources as well as um, and this I take from I don't want to do a spoiler and I want to give credit. Okay, so Patrick Watson mentioned something to do with healthcare and Saturn in Pisces. I'm not going to go all that deep into it. Like you can buy the webinar. It's only $15 and it's worth it. But the thing is that healthcare hacking into healthcare system. So if I take on this foundation of hey healthcare stuff or instilling healthcare stuff, and I'm thinking about healthcare management or the structure of healthcare, so exposing, I think there was something like that, I'm not sure, but this week there was also something like exposing the data or risk of exposing the data of people who are life insured or health insured. um, so exposing um, sensitive data in healthcare system, hacking into healthcare system. Okay, this is my rendition or my addition on this. Um, and this is already, I think part of it was already talked about as risk. My prediction is that it will happen. I don't predict longevity to governments trying to put 70 years ban on information regarding COVID, how to run COVID. The WHO, WHO organization, maybe leaked stuff to do with the WHO organization. Who is the UN partnering up with? All those, it's not just juicy stuff. These are really things that concern humanity. And this is why I'm so joyous that those things are about to be leaked. Those things are about to be exposed. Um, but then we also need to pay attention to um, fights over water resources. Okay, in Israel, and as an Israeli, I'm at my country or people or leaders or units or I don't know were obeying to illegal orders to cut down water resources as a part of tending to the security in the area. So cut out water resources for certain groups of population. This is something that I was exposed that happened. It shocked me, okay, as a third generation Holocaust survivor, like third generation to a Holocaust survivor. Like, of course, it shocked me, but I cannot ignore that. And so when we hear about suddenly there is a response to that or that being done to agriculture in the north, okay, it doesn't mean like this could be, the most supportive of those marginalized societies, people who are landowners. But war is war, and that's difficult. And I can see that how, and I was talking about this, right? When we don't listen to our soldiers, when we don't listen to the people who risk their lives and say, I was asked to do illegal order, or I did illegal order. And now in retrospective, I understand that what I was obeying was illegal order and the public needs to know this. Okay, It's enough for several units or several commanders in the entire, in this case, IDF, but you can say NATO, you can say, the Marines, you can say like whatnot, intelligence. It's enough for several such people to do this and not have the feedback loop so that we can get an event leaking and now people are like, oh my gosh, this is so cruel, people are attacking water systems in our country, and like, but our country's been doing that, and this is how, when illegal orders give precedence to um, human rights violation, and we don't want that. Okay, we also want to think about the implication, like people need to defend themselves, people need to set boundaries, people fight, right? But yes, ethics in war exist for a reason, and having this hell broke loose kind of system where you cut the water out for people, of course they're going to see it as a legitimate war or guerrilla move um, in return. Okay, so Saturn in Pisces, uh, with Jupiter, the ruler of Pisces, traditional ruler of Pisces, in Aries, which is Mars ruled sign, and Mars in another water sign, which is Cancer, altogether created a situation where we have people penetrating hacking into the water systems. And the modern ruler is Uranus for Aquarius, so Uranus in Taurus, so agriculture, technology that governs the water system being hacked. And all these planets creating a context. And you can see a holistic picture here. I cannot say this is Pluto, this is Saturn, this is Mars. It's all of them working together. Okay? It's all of them working together to create these situations that are now leaking. For example, if I take the Pentagon, okay, the Pentagon, there was a person that was leaking into the Pentagon and exposing himself during Pluto, and I think even in Sagittarius. Okay, I think it was even before Pluto and Capricorn, and he was, I think, sentenced to jail. I don't know if he served. I think I did a Spirit of Matter episode. I don't remember the name right off the bat, and I did want to show my face, because if I show just the charts, then I cannot show my face. If I show my face, I cannot show you the charts. So this is a facial video. It's a facial. Anyway, um, there was a person doing ethical hacking to the Pentagon and exposing the exploits there. And just exposing the exploits, not leaking information. What did the United States do? Did they fix anything? Did they fix the exploits? But also, what were these hidden things? Because Pluto in Aquarius is going to get transparency. It's going to get transparency out there. No secrets with Pluto. No secrets. It's radical acceptance. Okay, you need to radically accept yourself, and intend to authenticity. It's challenging for each person. It's challenging, right? But this is a situation where it's going to be in the air. Pluto is going to put the sun rays in the hidden things. People say, oh, Pluto is controlling hidden things. Yes, to a certain degree. Pluto also controls compost, alchemy, the phoenix from the flame. So you can't, like, Pluto is not, like, I would not use Pluto magically to hide something. Okay? No, it can be the situation, like if you think about growing an embryo. So in humans, it's around 9 months, not exactly, sometimes 7, sometimes 10 months of pregnancy. And so it takes 3-4 months until we see the baby bump, okay? So it's hidden, but it's not hidden forever. This baby is going to come out to the air, okay? And the part of the Pluto is this birth, okay, then rebirth, rejuvenation. So I would not use Pluto or rely on Pluto to keep anything hidden or secret. It won't work. Okay? Won't, won't work. It won't work. You can't, like, that's not what Pluto is for. Pluto is for birthing something into the air. The best thing to do with Pluto is to bring light into what is hidden, because this is what Pluto does to begin with. Okay? So, this is for the Pluto Aries. Okay? The content, if there is things that any government tries to hide from the public, and it's not in favor of the people because Aquarius is dealing with mass people, mass society. Okay? It's not the people in the sense of the moon, but it's the masses. And if it's not genuinely serving national security, or if there are risks to national security that are hidden, those informations will be leaked by the merit of the telos of Pluto and Aquarius. Saturn in Pisces leaking. Okay, Saturn in Pisces also water, so leaking in the water. Okay, in this case, Israel had a problem with people giving illegal orders to cut water supply for marginalized societies. And so water being used as a war tactic. Okay, that is unethical. It's illegal order. And now with Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter, the traditional ruler, in a Mars ruled sign, now because Israel created this, unprecedented. Somebody said on Twitter, I'm getting tired of reading unprecedented. So here's another one. So unprecedented move. I'm like, it's probably not unprecedented, but when you think about ethics and yeah, what not, national security, it's not in your favor to fight in this way, because international arena is the game of is the repeated game. It's a decision making, okay, theory of decision making theory, game theory, okay, it's a repetitive game. Okay, what happens in a repetitive game, sooner or later one of the components or players is going to decide to do mirroring. Okay, I'm going to do whatever the other person does, and I'm going to keep mirroring them so I get them to correct their behavior into a way that they are going to feel adequate receiving. Right? That's what it is. That's why we make beta tests to products. Okay, right? We want to try it out ourselves and see. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work on another person in the same way. But this is the reasoning behind this. And so we had a case where a tactic that is inhumane was used by a nation and then against a nation. It is the same tactic. And technologically, okay? So hacking into watering systems in agriculture in northern Israel. Simple as that. Harming crops. Simple as that. Okay? And that was just a part of what happened. Yes, there were missiles, there were this, but that was not these transits in particular. Definitely hacking into watering systems, hacking into infrastructure, exposing sensitive national security related stuff, intelligence, leaking information about intelligence, discovering certain intelligences that we didn't know about. Okay, it's for sure, and I don't know anything, but for sure it's not just Mossad, Shabak, Russian, China, USA. Like for sure there are other types of intelligences out there, and those will be leaked if they contain something that it serves humanity for it to be in the air. It will be in the air. So this is I would not count on your medical record to be private. Okay, so I predict also a lot of discussion around the science of psychology, because Aquarius is science and Pluto is psychology, is occult. Okay, um, recently we had like a discussion about the magic in astrology or regulating astrology or all these things are like, okay, we're talking about those taboo topics that we didn't bring up. Now people feel more comfortable to stand their ground, and raise points, okay, raise points into the discourse, raise concerns or raise point of views that perhaps were not previously considered. Aries square and Pluto, so we're gonna see also, if for example, if you go to a psychologist, to a psychiatrist, or if you go to your family doctor, it can be that your data will be exposed. Okay, One of the things that were exposed in therapists, psychologists, is that the way that they write their reports on their patients, which they are obliged to write, is sometimes not politically correct for the patient, and they expose all kind of things that are very detrimental to the health and the benefit of the patient. Okay. Um, and let alone psychiatrists, let alone medical care team and so on. So those things can be leaked, and they can create a tremendous controversy. And those are leaks of masses. It's not a person's data is being leaked. Okay, so it's not what I kind of like about, which is funny because Pluto in Aquarius traditionally was the French Revolutions, which was the guillotine, so people losing their heads, but because it's to do with the masses, it's not about exposing the medical record of that and that leader or that. Like, it can happen, but that is more Capricorn. It's more about exposing humanity's medical record and then seeing trades and trends. Okay, seeing trades and trends about many people coming and say, oh, my partner was violent to me, she or he were threatening me, and so I need to save my sanity, I need a shelter. Yeah, they find themselves in a hospital and they're being diagnosed as mentally ill. Okay, just today I read about a Facebook friend of mine who is open about it. She's talking about everything. She survived childhood sexual abuse and sex trafficking and drug addiction, and who suffered. And then she was diagnosed in psychiatric disorders that had nothing to do with what she's dealing with, which is surviving violence. And I don't need to tell you the implications if you're a parent. Um, and so the people who were supposed to help were actually going against because of stigma, because of this, because of that, whatnot. But we are going to be exposed to medical records of the masses being exposed, and then trends showing up that many people came to complain about something, and it was written something else. Many people came to complain about or something physical that they're dealing. They were considered, oh, this is psychosomatic, and poof, go take beta blockers, and then you die, or become destructive or whatnot. So we this is another prediction that I have for this upcoming time. A lot of people are going to find out what those people that to do with psychology or psychiatry. And does not necessitate that you went to a psychologist. You could have gone to the ER, and the ER gave you certain pills that you didn't know were to treat mental ailment because nobody told you that, and now you're having side effects that you shouldn't be receiving because you just complained that you are in pain. And they were like, no, it can't be that you're hurting that much. You probably are crazy. So they give you antipsychotic, okay? And that is how, and the reason it's more to the emphasis of psychology is because of Pluto. Pluto is about the inner, the Hintergedanke. Saturn in Pisces is specifically healing and drugs. So, and crediting Patrick Watson, healthcare system management. Okay, healthcare system management. So we're gonna get a lot of leaks of what's actually going on there. In Israel, we already had doctors being exposed for taking shots of naked patients without their permission when the patients are under yeah, anesthesia. It's like selling that on Pornhub or something like that. Okay, it puts a very dark twist on medical, and you know that not let alone attacking people, let alone this, let alone that. So all these kind of things, and now a lot of people eventually in the coming 3 years, even the coming 3 years, a lot of people are going to believe those people who dare to speak about um, something that happened, abuse that happened to them in a hospital or in a mental hospital, or being hospitalized for no reason, or being medicated for something that they weren't even told is to treat, psychological stuff or psychiatric stuff when they're just like in pain. And not just women. It's like, yes, women do suffer from that a lot because they're being projected and so on, stigma, blah, 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 blah. Also, men, okay, everyone, it pertains to everyone. Um, so, this is another prediction that I have following these things. Other systems to do, okay, this can be, especially right now, they can be hacking into military systems. So intelligence is one thing, but Marines, the ships that operate aircraft on the sea. So if something and those things, it's like a Mercury retrograde. Like it's going to expose the things that already need to be exposed. So if I would be an ethical hacker to this to such a company, I would simply say, are there any illegal orders being given here? Can we have a cleanup? Because Saturn is karma in the sense is like, how have you been doing your Saturn thingy so far? Now it's going to delay certain something until it is done correctly, it is done on time. It's going to make sure that you're not going to pay a price that you shouldn't pay, for example. But it's also going to make sure that if something needs to be fixed, it will be exposed to you. Hey, I need to tend to that. Okay, like Saturn in Pisces in my first house with Jupiter in the 11th, I'm being exposed to content creators on YouTube not receiving money. And so people are being attacked. And then I'm like, oh, now I get a lot of the discourse and the wars, the survival wars that I didn't know about. Or what did people want from the like house division or whatnot. It's just content creators are not being paid to do this. So they have to sell something. And in an astrological magic, it's even worse because they sell a product that is a talisman. And I'm with Christopher Warnock's approach to talismans. Even though like the ready practice I will have is like from Sphere and Sundry, like how do you paint the thingies and so on. If I don't have money still to buy the books, which I hope to have soon, then it's like, how do you paint the thingies? How do you experiment yourself? Well, you would just watch what other people do and it's visible. But in terms of the philosophy, I'm more following Christopher Warnock, who's like, I'm working with angelic beings. It's not like something terrible is going to happen. It's just that it might not work or it not might not give certain benefit um, because because of so and so. Okay, so this is the approach that I'm following. If you're following a more rigorous approach, then yeah, you can understand how sometimes the incentive to sell a product just to get paid can get into the market things that absolutely are not supposed to be in the market for other reason than awakening the masses that something's going on here. Okay, so or astrological reading given by people who are just trying to make a buck and are reliant on this so much so that the pressure makes them either charge more too soon or give service that is way more sensitive than they thought. For example, if you give consultations about the 12th house, the 8th house, Pluto consultations, they do require like certain sort of knowledge about projections, about transferences. Like you do need to know at least the basics about that, and you do need to know that like sometimes you're going to trigger people, and it's just going to happen. But still be aware, um, and these things happening. And so people talk about certifying astrologers now. It's not like no, no. No. Getting more, and I talked about this in another video. But those kind of things, the Saturn thingy coming up to a certain sign is dredging up things to reconstruct something. It's like, hey, you need to pay attention to this and this and this and this in your life. You haven't been paying attention. Okay. And sometimes it can be the most like almost insignificant thing to you, and you're like, oh shit, I didn't know that doing my pedicure is also to avoid athlete's foot. Like I never connected to that fungi grow on stagnant things. I was like, oh, I'm not a I'm not a sissy. Like I can run, I can walk, I'm not a sissy. And it's like, yeah, but you also need to remove that dead skin, right? It's stupid. It's stupid. Sometimes it's something that stupid. Saturn is going to come to you and it's like, the skin around your feet. And then you start doing pedicures. It's like, all right, stagnant skin around the feet. I was getting athlete food for that. Like, this is so silly. Um, that is, it can be something that stupid, and it can be something more meaningful, where you are intending to something, but it can also be, I was tending and tending and tending and tending and tending to that. Saturn in a given sign can give you the results, and this is why if you watch Astro Victor, and he's talking about doing your Saturn, if Saturn is now in Pisces, do Saturn in Aries. Okay, I'm tending right now to my taxes, my income. How do I make a living while making a life? What is needed for me to do that? How can I do that and not rely on, let's say, welfare or something like that? So when Saturn finally is in that sign, what you get is the benefits. What you get is the results. Like, hey, you've been dedicating so much time to this topic. Now you can make your moves, or you've been taking certain steps. Now you can get your return. Okay. You've been dedicated so much to this. Now Saturn yields results for you. Okay. Alternatively, hey, this thing that you didn't do, start doing that now. Like, it's really important to do that. And as you do that, you're gonna gain the benefit of Saturn. So when Saturn is leaking something, information that it leaked, but also a lot of other stuff. Okay? Nobody would hack into our water systems if we didn't put this idea in their mind that they can do that if they weren't deprived of water to begin with. And as we tend to that, we need to keep that in mind and treat it both ways. Okay, both defend our water system, yes, absolutely, but also speak up. Okay, when soldiers want to say, I committed illegal order, in retrospective, I understand this was illegal order. These are things that are done in several units by several commanders in where is mandatory to serve. They're not traitors. They're safeguarding the national security. Change your fucking story. Okay? I keep myself. It's like, change your fucking story. People who expose and leak stuff are not traitors. They are exposing what needs to be changed so that it doesn't escalate into such atrocities against humanity. They're like, you don't even know where it's coming from. Why would anybody do such a cruel thing? Well, did you know your country did that? And that's relevant to every country. Okay, that's relevant to every country. Or sensitive information leaking out. Okay, or stuff happening with healthcare system. Okay, you, let's say, I don't know, you lost your pet. Okay, you're going to several sessions with your psychologist. Then Saturn comes in and your information is being leaked, and now you see what they wrote about you, and you're like, huh? I just came here to take responsibility over my life and tend to my sorrow and grief so I can move on, be a functioning human being. They put a pack of bullshit there, um, because of whatever they're projecting onto me that was both keeping me from getting the healing that I came for, and so and so. And how so many people dealt with that. So the reports, okay, the information, that the content, okay, ethical hacking is not just about solving exploits in the system. It's about changing the content of what's being transmitted so that it's ethical, so that it serves, in this case, Pluto and Aquarius, the people. And then it's easier to safeguard your freaking systems. It's much easier to safeguard your systems when you're not doing anything that could cause harm to people to begin with. And then you're gonna get the right steps. So this is for, security issues and stuff. Um, yeah. So this video is more like an update of things that are happening. Um, with Uranus being in Taurus, oh, there was one thing. I was watching a video I have his face. I have his face. The latest video by Lada, is financial astrologist who talk about gold, and I know that he invests in gold and advocates for that. Um, and it's a question that it's a question. It's an open question. Okay. Yes, absolutely. I see why gold prices are going to rise. Um, Definitely in times of volatility, people look to safeguard themselves from inflation. Metals, especially gold, are considered good for that. That being said, gold, if you want to invest in gold, it's mostly being held in Switzerland, which is not known for releasing the money that you invest in it. Switzerland is good in hiding your money, it's not good in cashing in. And while we want to preserve, your dollars or your dinars or your I don't know what, you also want to be able to cash in if you need to in case of an emergency, right? And while holding your money in gold seems like a good idea, two things: one, the way gold is mined, and the like it's a genuine concern. It's a genuine open question. Like, how does it affect to mine so much gold? In general, like our technology, should we reconsider stuff? And the second thing is, will Switzerland release your money? Because it didn't, not for the Jews and not for the Nazis. Why would it, like, why would you count on Switzerland releasing your money for you? Like they're just gonna, your own nationality, even if you report the government and you're not hiding, doing this to hide the a fortune or so. First of all, Switzerland did report to countries about the wealth that's in there. Like recently, we had a couple of very wealthy, rich people, some of which were CEOs of the biggest banks in Israel that were keeping money in Switzerland. And Switzerland just reported this to the Israeli government because you got an inquiry and they said, okay, we're going to report. Okay, so you can't really trust that. And for some people, it's not just being villains. Some people need that or to hide certain money so that they can have money if they need to be refugees, if they need to run. Um, so, holding money in gold, and this is an open question. I'm not saying I have all the answers, I'm just raising a concern. And that's something to ask yourself. Okay. The second thing is hacking. If you are relying on hiding wealth and not reporting it, um, it's very likely that it's going to be exposed. Like civil disobedience is much preferred in this case to an attempt to hide, um, money, especially when it's invested in metals or crystals or things that you mine, which are also Saturn ruled because Saturn rules mountains. And if you invest in it in Switzerland, and Switzerland is mountain country, so it's also related to Saturn. And so I would not think that hiding wealth is a smart move right now. Storing food, yes. Storing things, absolutely. Like keeping money aside, yes, absolutely. It's not what I'm saying. Um, but I wouldn't rely on hidden wealth. I wouldn't rely on anything that you have to hide, basically. I wouldn't rely on that. Like, no. And there can be leaking into these financial systems, exposing a lot of credit data of the masses of people. So this is also a prediction that I have. Liquidity. Okay, so a lot of information about liquidity. This is why we're having a lot of bank collapsing um, in general, and liquidity is also Saturn Neptune. Okay, liquidity or the lack of. Do you have enough liquidity? That's going to be tested. You gotta like get your act together, get some liquid resources to have, whether it's water, just stored water, or money or whatnot, or if you keep gold, you keep it like where you can reach it. Okay, hacking into safes can also be an issue, but this is more like a mass scale, not. I wouldn't be so concerned about maybe unless if you keep it in your house and you have fourth house Aquarius, that can be. But open source is more the way to go about it, making sure that you're ethically sourcing your wealth, that it benefits the people en masse, um, that you're doing for the people. These are going to help to contribute to wealth the way I predict it to be. Um, and understanding with what you're seeing right now is more intricate than what it looks like, because Saturn and Pisces can be hidden from the eye, um, and what you see isn't what you get. Okay, so there's always another level. Nou ja, have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video, um, or maybe not next week. I don't know. Bye bye.